All right, welcome everyone to another webinar in the Smith.ai Master Series. Today, I'm here with Dan Bowman of Practice Panther. I'm Maddy Martin, the VP of Marketing at Smith.ai. We are a 24/7 virtual receptionist service, and we answer calls, make outbound calls, handle chats, texts, and Facebook messages for solo and small firm attorneys and all business owners, actually. So small, medium-sized businesses, primarily service-driven businesses. So I will just introduce the topic for today, which is the 2022 trends and strategies for improving law firm customer service. So the service, at least as far as Dan and I are, concerned, that you provide to your clients really can make or break your reputation. It can make or break your revenue, your referrals, and more than ever, it is a critical factor in growth. It's a critical factor in the number of reviews that you get, which strongly influences the inbound leads who are attracted to your firm, or to any business for that matter. So what we want to share today are strategies to better provide, client experience, customer service, and how to store and collect important information so that you're attracting the right clients who do want to work with you, who are good for referrals, and that you are taking a close look into your communication strategy as a big part of how you handle your responsiveness to new leads and existing clients, as that is a huge part of the client experience that's really become, of paramount focus. So let me share my screen and I will open up the webinar. Let's see, here we go. Let me just hit present. So I already covered that. And then you know who the two of us are. I introduced Smith.ai and we'll go into more details about that. Dan, do you want to introduce yourself and then talk a little bit about Practice Panther and walk through the agenda for today?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining on this Friday afternoon. So my name is Dan Bowman. I am the product marketing manager here at Practice Panther. I'm excited to get to talk to everybody today to really get into how your technology can help law firms provide, that exceptional customer service while also making your lives easier. So Practice Panther has been around since 2012, and our mission is to really enable law firms to automate their practices and help people get more done in less time. We do that by providing all the tools necessary in one simple solution. And as you can see here, those main pillars of that being your workflows, which allow you to set conditional tasks for your repeatable processes, your case management, which keeps all of your dates, your contacts, and your files in a secure and easily searchable format. And then to wrap it all up, we have a built-in payment solution called Panther Payments that makes it super easy for your clients to pay you. And we'll get into why that's important later as well. So we're really going to dive in and really talk about how Practice Panther and Smith.ai together can be used to their fullest extent to provide the very best customer experience for your clients. Because at the end of the day, you can use technology to make your life easier, but if you're not passing those benefits along to your clients, then you're really missing out on some fantastic opportunities. So here's what we're going to be going over today. First of all, we're going to get into some customer expectations in the digital age. Everything we do online, or everything we do in general today, is online, right? So the bar for customer experience is super, super high. We're then going to get into some strategies to better personalize your customer experience and really work to engage with your customers in a better way. And then we'll get talking about the importance of targeting your messages quickly and efficiently. And then really tie it all together with improving your lead experience, which is, the first impression you're going to make with your potential clients. And then again, collecting and storing that data.
Awesome. Yeah. And even before I begin, I think there is an undercurrent here, Dan, that we're not going to touch on, but I want to just plant the seed in your minds that this, sort of focus on the customer experience. First of all, we're using customer and client interchangeably. So just every time you hear customer, think client, if client is more familiar to you, but also think about your experience and your staff experience. If you have staff, that is something absolutely is worth focusing on and is important for your retention of key players in your firm. So all of these things do sort of rise the universal tide, so to speak, for the customer, for the client, for you, for your partners, and then also for your staff who are valuable assets as you grow. So really what we're seeing across all of the surveys and research that's done is that consumers more than ever are demanding an instantaneous response to sales and support inquiries. And what this means is that businesses, particularly small businesses, are really spread thin by the inundation of not just calls, but the emails, and then every new channel that you've opened up because some marketer said, go and get yourself a Google My Business profile and a Facebook page. And hey, why not Instagram and TikTok and Twitter too? So you're managing all of these online platforms and the sort of more traditional, maybe we think email is traditional now. People aren't coming up to your office and saying like, serve me now, probably, but they are sort of making that demand via email and by phone call, to the extent that it's the vast majority, north of 80% of consumers, potential clients, and existing clients say, when I have a support need, when I have a sales request, whether I'm a new leader or an existing client, I expect a business to be instantly available to me, just the same way that I text my friends or I like a Facebook, photo, I'm going to get an instant response. People seem to be available in all channels at all times, and that's what I expect of every business that I'm going to interact with. And if you don't get back to me quickly, then the loss that happens in the moments after is extremely significant, to the extent that actually less than 50% of inbound calls are answered. So think about like if they leave you a voicemail, if you don't pick up, you're not available, and you try and call them back, already less than 50% of those calls are going to be answered. Compare that to 100% connection rate when you pick up the phone the first time, right? When you answer that message via Facebook, that in that moment, they're still on your page, they're still thinking about that, great. If that moment passes, whether they're on online search, whether they're, looking around Facebook for other recommendations from their friends, for attorneys, they are going to go down to the next on the list. And all that work that you spent to improve your ranking, improve your visibility, improve your referrals, increase your network was just wasted in that moment because you missed out on that opportunity. And we see this in the data where clients will say the single biggest factor in their decision to hire a law firm is the initial responsiveness to the first call or email. That's 2/3 of every new potential client. They're saying, I base my decision to hire a law firm not on actually the content of that consultation, but on the responsiveness to that phone ringing. Now, if we think about what are the factors that, sort of make this a challenge, one factor is that you have no idea if that phone call is worth picking up. We know that spam is on the rise to the tune of 50 million, I think, spam calls a month. That might actually be billion. I think it's million. And as a result, you have a pretty high likelihood, if you're the one answering the phone, to waste a lot of time. And as a result, no fault to you, you're trying to make a decision in the moment to pick up or not. And the same goes, frankly, for email. The same goes for, different messages on social media. There are plenty of people who want to reach out to you who are not necessarily relevant. Now, there's also potential clients who are not a good fit. There are clients who will reach out to you because it says law firm in your business name, and you're thinking, well, I don't do that type of law, but does the consumer know that? Do they have the means? Do they have the time? And is their timeline aligned with your timeline in the sense of, can you do the work that they want in the time frame they have allotted for it? And if they don't have the means, are they committed to finding a way to work with you? There are a lot of factors here that may, even if they're in the right practice area, determine that they may or may not be a good fit as a qualified lead for your law firm. So when we think about all those factors and the phone is ringing in front of us, or the emails are coming through, the web forms are being completed, and you're gathering sort of like initial data, there's still an important factor here, which is what Dan and I are going to talk about. There is a balance here of the consumer experience and making sure that everyone is really quickly responded to without consuming and taking your time up front, right? So that's why we're talking about the outsourcing and the automation that is available to you throughout this presentation, to think about how can you be responsive and also not get interrupted. Those are the important things. And we know that 59% of consults actually don't convert into clients. So the more that we can protect your time up front, the more that you have really great data in your practice management solution to see who are the clients you should be going after so that we can improve that metric over time, the more that you will have better consultations, more valuable meetings on your calendar, and less worry about what new business is coming your way. So when we think about the law firm sales funnel, what I was just describing is basically the process of going from a new potential client to a qualified lead, a qualified potential client who's in the right practice area. They fill out your form. They check the box that says, yes, I'm looking for an immigration attorney or family law or criminal defense or whatever the case may be. And they complete an intake form. They take a genuine next step to say, I am committed enough to share real information about this matter with you. I'm committed enough to schedule a consultation. I'm committed enough to speak to the person on the phone who may be a receptionist about what it is that I need to talk to the attorney about. I know I need to divulge a little bit of information to actually get time with this person who's going to help me with this matter, right? And that is one of the most important things that we see in the qualification process is, can you at least get enough information to screen them in or screen them out, right? That should be the number one priority. And the responsiveness there will determine every other next step. You're not going to try and win and retain every person who calls you. That would be nuts. Now, if you're in certain practice areas, there might be different thresholds for how hard you're going to try to get in touch with that client. You might have demand that is just banging down your door. And as a result, you don't have to take consultations with every potential client who could be a good fit. You're really cherry picking those ones who seem like they have the money in the hand. They know what they're looking for. They understand your services. They're not going to, cause you to lose sleep at night or stress you out. They're not going to be, harassing you for updates. Fine. Maybe you have the luxury of choosing those really premier clients. But you also might be in a practice area where it's very competitive, like personal injury. And you don't just have to be responsive, but you also have to chase and chase and chase and carry that momentum that is urgent for a case like that, right? Sometimes that's the case with criminal defense and immigration, sometimes with other areas as well. But if you're in IP and business law and trademarks, you probably are going to have a bit of a different cadence. So keep that in mind as we think about, there is a sense of urgency no matter what, but the next steps and how much you put them through the ringer, how much you try and screen them out is going to be a factor of practice area. It may also be a factor if you're working with a marketing agency and you have advertising leads that are coming through versus random people who are, posting messages on your Facebook page or Instagram or YouTube. You may not need to work as hard to respond to those leads as those who are coming through ads, who are with a very high likelihood well qualified. So that's something to consider as well. And one of the questions you should be asking on that initial call, or a receptionist service can do this for you as well, is how did you hear about us? Because that also is data that then you can log in your system of record to go back and report and say, who ended up hiring us? How much did it cost, or how much effort did it take to bring them to the firm? And then who do we want to go and get more of? If we were going to double our marketing budget today, do you have the data right now to say, I'm going to look back historically and see who our best clients have been and where they came from so that I can get more of them? That's what the work here today is going to allow you to do. And my main point is the more responsive you are, the less business you lose before you even get to have that consultation with them, before you even get it in your practice management system. You don't want to set yourself up to lose something you haven't even connected with yet. So with that in mind, the number one tip that I always share in terms of leveraging sort of that immediate response need is having a scheduling solution in place. Imagine that your receptionist is on the phone, whether it's Smith.ai or someone in-house, whatever, and they have a great new potential client. They are seeking a divorce. You've got a family law practice. They have the money in hand. They have very clear thinking around, this is something I've been thinking about for a year. They've already been separated for 6 months. Okay, this makes complete sense. This is something your firm wants to take. Okay, well, then the attorney will call you back as soon as she gets this message. No, that's the worst thing that could possibly happen, because then they're on the hook waiting for that hoping and praying time that you actually call them back. And when could that be in your very busy day? At the end of the day, you're giving them a huge window to worry and doubt and reach out to another firm who just may have a calendaring solution available to the receptionist to schedule time on your calendar for a consultation, maybe later that day, maybe it's the next day. But as soon as it's scheduled, that search stops. The seeking out of an attorney stops, not when the consultation occurs, but when the scheduling, when the commitment of a consultation occurs. So right now we're showing Calendly on the screen. This is a free calendar tool that I believe integrates with Practice Panther. And I think you can also integrate others like Acuity. But the beautiful thing is that you have an appointment scheduled on your calendar without doing anything with someone who is taking care to make sure it's a valuable meeting. This is not your lead scheduling themselves, although it could be. You can add pre-screening questions to this and only allow for an appointment booking if that's answered properly. But it's easier when a receptionist is doing that duty and they themselves unlock that next step of let me schedule a consultation. You can set your parameters so that you're not getting booked up every single day, all day, so that you have time to get to your meetings if you're still driving to the courthouse, et cetera. And so that you also don't have to be present to review every single new potential client, because your team should be able to at least screen leads for you. And if you don't have that in place, we'll talk about, intake. It is critical that you have pre-screening questions for someone else to ask for you. Super simple, 3 to 5 questions, including how did you hear about us? And that will allow them to schedule that meeting. As soon as that happens, that lead has stopped looking for a new law firm to serve their need. They're going to wait and they're going to talk to you, and you're going to determine if that's a client you want and move forward with retaining them and getting them, signed. So this like free add-on is something you can even put in your email signature. Yes, you can put it on your website, but you absolutely should be handing this as a link that's available to your team to use when they're on calls, when they're, answering emails, when they're answering chats, text messages, etc. All of this can be done on your behalf and not necessarily take your time. So this is the number one recommendation that I have. It also has automatic text and email reminders. You can customize the messaging. You can also customize, if you pay, it's like $10, maybe even less, for sort of an upgraded plan, different parameters that you can set for new meeting types. You might have one for new clients. You might have one for existing clients, one even for referral partners, for a catch-up coffee chat. And I would send that to someone like Dan and say, hey, let's catch up, Dan, instead of like a lead or client meeting. There's tons of options that are available to me. And actually now, last thing, Dan, sorry, there is a group meeting option. So for those of you who are familiar with Doodle and things like that, where you could schedule a time that works for everyone, and poll basically the parties who would be in a meeting, saying, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at noon, what time is best for everyone? instead of ensuing the email back and forth where you're constantly trying to figure out a time, instead you send a link, people add their availability, and then you can see what overlaps for everyone. Calendly now has that feature, which is huge. So you consolidate your tools. You don't have to use Doodle anymore. You can just use Calendly for that. So Dan, let's talk more about reminders and the importance of that.
Great. Yeah, thanks. So yeah, we're talking a lot about being responsive, right? And being responsive means acting quickly and not forgetting to do things. So reminders in Practice Panther are one of our most commonly used features. It allows you to, literally set a reminder for yourself for any sort of task that you can think of. You can send yourself a text message, you can send yourself an email, even a pop-up in the program. You can set up to 5 reminders per task. What we'd like to say is we give you the ability to spam yourself so you never really drop the ball or forget to complete something. The great thing about these reminders as well, once you move down the line with your client, you can send them reminders. So if they need to send you some paperwork, or if you want to send them a reminder so they don't miss your upcoming meeting, you can do so. So, we're talking about using technology to streamline your processes. We're all super busy. Let's say you have a letter of engagement that you need to send out, but you also have 10 other things to do before you send that out. You don't want to forget to send that letter of engagement. It's as easy as clicking send, right? But more things are pressing. So you can send yourself a pop-up in the program 2 hours before. You can get an email an hour later. If you're really procrastinating, you can get a text message 20 minutes before you have to send this letter. Again, we really just want to make sure you're following through with your promises on some of your most chaotic days. And by setting these reminders in the program, you don't have to think about it, right? You're going to keep getting reminded until the task is complete. When it comes to having the very best customer service around, it's those small details that stick out in your customer's mind. And so small detail, right? The small things are the things that you can forget. So by setting these reminders, you're gonna rise above. Can you go back 1 second?
Sorry.
So a couple options where you can sort of use these reminders to go a bit above and beyond. Let's say you want to check in on a client 2 to 3 days after they submit their paperwork, just to see if they have any other questions. That's something easy you can do to set yourself apart. Looking forward, maybe you want to check in with past clients at a regular interval, maybe every 6 months, just to make sure that they're doing okay. And the thing about these sort of reminders is, we're also busy in our day-to-day lives. Sometimes it's hard to remember who your doctor is or who you worked with 4 months ago. So by constantly engaging with your past clients, you become top of mind. We know that referrals are a huge factor in gaining more business in law firms. So by doing these simple things and setting yourself a reminder to engage with these clients, you're not only showing that you care about them, but they might return the favor in the future and send some more business your way.
Dan, I just have a question for you. I mean, it seems like this would be a fantastic, job for a paralegal or someone who is maybe an associate who could do this on behalf of the partner or the main attorney at the firm or any attorney at the firm. Is that something that you see as a common sort of use case here, that you have it being done on behalf of others, or are they mostly assigning things to themselves?
Yeah, so we'll get into that in a bit with the workflows later. But when you set reminders for these workflows, you can assign tasks to whomever you want to within your law firm. So if your paralegal has to do something before their attorney has to, it just gets passed on to the next person. So the reminders really work across the organization.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
So I think one of the things that Dan and I are both really passionate about is taking payments for client consultations. Even taking payments in general is really important, and obviously Panther Payments makes this very easy. Virtual receptionists like those at Smith.ai can take payments actually over the phone, and they can also make calls outbound to reach out to clients who have outstanding invoices, unpaid bills, et cetera, one of the things that we see as a trend that continues to be the case is that attorneys are discounting their work. And that means that the invoice is going to be, smaller sum than if you had billed all of your hours. And then there's another discount when the bills don't all get paid. So you end up realizing, I think on average, it's actually less than 80% of the revenue that is due to you. So as a result, there is a lot of revenue on the table that you could be capturing. And if you use online, credit card payments that are properly set up with a trust account, IOLTA, you're able to have the money go in the right place and have more of that money come in that is already coming in. And actually, John Bradshaw, who's a longtime, Smith.ai client, said that as soon as he set up practice management and Smith.ai, he is now realizing like 98, 99% of all of his hours worked, because he has the system in place to capture that, the ease of use with the credit card payments, and the follow-up and execution by Smith.ai. So it's really important that you look at all of the ways that you are making it easy to pay your firm and opening those up to your clients. And frankly, if you have existing clients and you have added in Panther payments, you have added in online credit card payments, it's important that you share that with your clients. And that's something also that Smith.ai can reach out and make calls on your behalf to do, to say, look, I'm not sure that you're aware, but you've been sending checks and you can actually now send payment online. Is that something that you would like to start doing, right? And then go ahead and inform the firm that these clients said they would like to start with online payments. That's also a really great opportunity for an outreach and re-engagement campaign, as Dan was just mentioning. So Dan, you want to talk a little bit more about payments?
Sure. Yeah, Maddy, you hit the nail on the head there with the importance of, online payments. So as Maddy, alluded to, we do have the Panther payments, which is a built-in e-payment solution right within Practice Panther. It's a huge part of customer satisfaction, making their customer feel comfortable with the payments process. So there are a few ways that you can make this payments process a little bit easier. Step one is just being transparent about your payments. Whether you're billing hourly or you have a flat fee, be upfront and tell them what to expect. It's no secret that legal services are expensive. And so by being transparent and being upfront, you kind of reduce that sticker shock a little bit. You're going to make sure that you're not going to overcharge somebody. And so step two is give options, right? By offering a credit card payment or an e-check payment, you want to be able to give an option that makes your client feel more comfortable with the process itself. And so, offering online payments, people want to pay digitally these days. They buy everything else online. We're all addicted to Amazon, right? We're used to inputting our credit card information online. Writing checks is pretty antiquated. You're also dealing with the mail service. You're waiting around for these checks to come in. When you're using e-payments, it takes 2 to 3 days for your payments to come through. It's super quick. It's super simple. And yeah, it's just one of the best ways to get paid these days. Maddy also alluded to the fact that you want to be using a service that is built for lawyers. So Panther Payments is compliant with the ABA, with IOLTA, and it's compliant with all 50 state bars. So that's really important when you want to look at using online payments.
Yeah, absolutely.
One last thing about these payments, we conducted a study at the beginning of 2021. We called it the Law Firm Revenue Report. And what we actually found was that folks that were using online payments actually collected their payments 20% faster than traditional methods. And they also increased their collection rates by almost 7%. That's what Maddy was saying earlier. You're realizing more money. You're not having to write off payments at the end of the year. So,
Yes, and just one finance tip, you would also, benefit from, at least on the bottom line, receptionists, and if you're using freelance, paralegals or outsourced services in general, you can actually, get a tax deduction for those business expenses. So not your tax advisor, but I would recommend that you look into that if, we're on the finance track right now. So something to improve your bottom line. So, I mean, how does this all come together, right? So Smith.ai, as I had mentioned, is a 24/7 receptionist service. And actually uniquely for Practice Panther, we don't just add calls, but also chats, texts, Facebook message conversations. Anything that we are handling is getting added to Practice Panther with a simple 2-click integration. You don't need an IT person on staff for this. And that's what we're really passionate about, is getting these systems connected for you so that you are sort of running a business that is semi-automated, but you remain in the loop. You have visibility in real time, right? There's not this whole world of activities that's happening not involving you and not including you and not looping you in, right? That would be bad. That would be ethically bad as well. So consider what actually happens here. After a conversation that Smith.ai receptionist will handle for you, whether it's a call, chat, text, Facebook message, we look for that existing contact that matches that name or that phone number or email. And if we find one, then we add that conversation to that contact as an activity. And if we don't, then we add a new contact, right? So a new potential client reaches out, that's probably going to be a new contact. If you have an existing client who's calling, they're looking for a status update, or they're asking, do they have to be at court 30 minutes prior or an hour prior, or whatever question they have, they will call and they will chat and they will text, and that gets logged in your system. So the contacts are going to be checked and updated and or added as new contacts. And then you'll see those under activities with the sort of bracketed Smith tag. So you know that call was handled by Smith.ai, which is extremely helpful when you're looking through all the activities to be able to really visually call it out quickly. Now, it will also be indicated if that was an inbound or outbound call. It will be indicated what their phone number and email was captured as. Maybe they have a different phone number than another one you have on file. Very helpful to have that extra phone number they use to call your firm. And what is actually the written description from that call summary of the receptionist notes. They schedule the consultation after completing the intake form, or as is the case here, existing client Jake called to request a 15-minute check-in. Now, if you have a calendaring solution, that could actually be scheduled as well for you. But in some cases, you don't want to open up that access, and it's appropriate to instead just take a message and allow your firm, your staff, or yourself to follow up after reviewing that message. Now, importantly, you will be notified, as you normally have set in Practice Panther. Dan can talk more about this, about the activities notifications. If you have notifications from Smith.ai, you can also continue to get those. So if you're notified on Slack or text or email with a call or chat summary, then that is something that we would continue to do for you, or you can consolidate them and see them in Practice Panther. So Dan, is there anything you wanted to add here about automated workflows? Or will we cover that later?
We'll cover the workflows later, yeah.
Okay, great.
Before we get into that, just want to touch more on a little bit of the responsiveness, right? We keep hammering on that, but it's really important when you're dealing not only with leads, but also your current customers, your current clients. So we recently just released a native text messaging feature at Practice Panther, which allows you to text leads and clients directly from the application itself. Panther Payments users can sign up for a free phone number and use that as their texting number. You can place it on your website and have leads, prospects, anyone like that, email your firm, and you get an in-app notification directly saying that you have a new message. So speed is crucial, again, when capturing this information. So as Maddy said earlier, I think 89% of consumers expect an immediate response to those customer service issues. So if someone is reaching out to you via text message, you're going to want to respond as quickly as possible. There's actually some studies that have been done that say, text messages get opened, or 90% of text messages get opened within 90 seconds of receiving them. And I believe it's about 90 minutes for email. So not only are leads going to expect that quick communication, it's also a good way for you to reach out to your clients in the future, right? If you have something quick that you want to get over to them, or you have a quick question for them, a text is the best way to do it. We also talked earlier about how no one's opening their phone for calls anymore, right? We're getting spammed left and right by robocalls. I think there's more studies that have been done that's like 94% of unknown calls go unanswered. So if someone sends you an email and you want to follow up with them via a phone call, they might not pick up. You're going to start playing phone tag. And like Maddy said earlier, this person might go to the next firm, right? It's all about that first initial experience. So texting, again, is a good way to say, hey, we received your information. We're setting up a consultation. Here's the available dates. You can send them the Calendly link and everything like that.
Okay, so we've talked a little bit about intake, and I think the most important thing here is that between Smith.ai and Practice Panther, you will have intake completed and handled for you with just a very little amount of setup on your end. So if you're using Practice Panther's intake forms, which you should be, you have an intake form template that you can set, and you can share that template with Smith.ai to complete it on behalf of that new lead. So what we recommend is that you customize it with a few different, fields for all of your practice areas, if you have multiple practice areas. And you might even have questions that are not just like, contact information, but as I mentioned, really important to ask in that moment, how did they hear about you? Because if you're able to capture, oh, I typed in, family law attorney, Atlanta, Georgia into search, that's only going to be in their brain for a few moments, right? They're not going to remember. Later, they're just going to tell you, I think I searched online, right? So if you wait until the consultation to ask some of these questions, you actually are not going to get as accurate or complete of an answer. So think about what's really important that is time sensitive in whether or not they remember, whether they feel a certain, sense of urgency at that time. A few questions you may not have thought of beyond just how did you hear about us is, how important is it to you to have this matter handled by an attorney? Because there are plenty of surveys that say that people are not necessarily convinced that they're going to go with a law firm, even when they reach out to a law firm. So you can gauge their level of comfort and interest in actually engaging a law firm in this matter, which they may not be convinced of, and that can help you in the consultation address that, right? Because you can know you have like an in for a win there to say, I need to make sure I cover the importance of an attorney's role in resolving this matter or in addressing it. So what are the other things that you can sort of gather? You can ask questions about, are there any other parties are involved in this case? If you need conflict checks, are you asking the names of other parties that are involved to make sure that you don't have a conflict before you engage in a consultation? Are there, children involved? Is there property involved? Is there a court date scheduled already? Because you might have, a clock ticking for later this week that they think you're gonna, start working with them today. There are a lot of things there that you could be asking that are very immediately helpful to you that might even determine if that consultation needs to be referred out to someone else or canceled, because there's no way based on the answers that you're going to work with this person. So that should lead to not scheduling a consultation if you have your receptionist team trained properly or using the right service. We certainly know, if then statements make a big difference. If they have a court date already scheduled and if it's within a week, I'm not going to be able to work with that client. Please refer them to so-and-so, or a lawyer referral service may be provided by the bar. You do want to also ask, is this, a certain practice area? Are they in the right geographic area if that's important to you? It may not be. If you're, working on trademarks, you might not have to ask questions like that. So just pick like the first 3 or 5 questions beyond name, email, etc., phone number. And then you would share that link with Smith.ai, and we will ask those questions after greeting them by phone, even following up on web form fills. We actually could say, hi, thanks so much for reaching out to APC Law Firm. Just received your information from the website. Thanks so much for filling out that form. Would like to put you in touch with attorney Jane later today to have that consultation with you about your, child custody matter, whatever the case may be. So this is extremely helpful to make sure your workflows work, and so that the teams that are on your front line can actually complete meaningful tasks for you and don't just leave it as a message or follow up on your plate. Dan, did you have anything to add there?
Yeah, just a few things here. One being, we touched on the fact that you want to capture these leads as quickly as possible, right? So you don't want these forms to be, 20 questions. If somebody sees that many questions, they're going to get, scared or feel overwhelmed. You want to get as much information as possible that's going to help you decide if this is a relevant case for you. But you want to leave like the heavy stuff for later, right? So that's just my one note I want to say there. And then secondly, I just want to touch on the time-saving aspect that these intake forms have for you. We've done some customer interviews over the years, and for our larger firms, we see that, by using these intake forms, they save about 10 hours a week just because they're not manually entering data into a system. You're not dealing with the headache of trying to decipher handwriting or anything like that. I know a lot of times these forms are being completed online, but there's also the option of you putting these forms on an iPad if someone were to come into your office for a consultation and you need some extra information from them. You can hand them an iPad or sit them at a desk with a computer so that they can enter the information themselves. Again, you're not gonna mistake a number or a letter. You're gonna get all the information accurate and precise.
Nice. Awesome. All right, so we've got a little bit of tracking in here, which you can see the fields obviously that were added based on what we just talked about, and that you can actually link the intake field to the data field in Practice Panther. So when you're capturing name, you're putting in name. When you're capturing phone number, you're putting in phone number, etc. You can also make sure that a contact is created or not after the form is filled out. You can create a matter or not. You can update an existing client. You can update an existing matter. Those are really fantastic features because it's just less admin work for your firm, for you or for your staff. So Dan, you want to cover tasks here?
Yeah, everyone's favorite, the workflows. So yeah, workflows are really our most popular feature in Practice Panther, regardless of practice area across the board. It's sort of our bread and butter, right? So what the workflow feature does, it allows you to automate the creation of these tasks and events, place them on your calendar. Again, like we said before, you can pre-assign in your firm who's responsible for what tasks. And then preset those reminders for text, for email, for pop-up in the app, just to make sure you're staying on top of everything, right? So imagine you have 20 cases a month that have the same introductory steps. Rather than forgetting a step or recreating the wheel every single time, you preset exactly how that works and who needs to do which task, and you let the software automate the entire process for you. As soon as a form gets completed, the next paralegal has to send it to whomever, and you have the ball rolling, right? There's no more informing which staff member to do which task. It's all just pre-assigned. So in short, the workflow feature just lets you standardize your firm's process. And a standardized process is a great process because it makes sure nothing is slipping through the cracks, and it lets you, engage with your client in a professional manner. One other thing I want to note here about, a workflow that seems to work fairly well for everyone is we have a special workflow in Panther payments, which helps you nudge your clients to make their payments on time. We found that in that same report that we did earlier this year, we found that people that used that e-payments reminder feature saw an additional 5% decrease in the time it took to collect their invoice. And so that's a win-win, because when you're looking at it from a customer service perspective, you don't have angry clients that are paying late fees or anything like that, because you took the steps to remind them to pay their bills on time.
Dan, I'll chime in one thing here, which is this was shared to me a few years ago at an event, and I just stole it as a talking point because I think it's very interesting. Imagine that you are a large credit card company and how much staff and technology you have to follow up on someone who doesn't pay their credit card bill. Why would you take that on as a small business? Let those credit card companies go chase people to pay their bills or charge the fees if they don't pay their bills. That being on you and that revenue not hitting your balance sheet is really not acceptable. It's not going to be your responsibility as a small business owner to also be a collections agency. Yes, Smith.ai can make those calls for you, but why actually be in that position if you are accepting online payments? You say, let's take that credit card, let's take that ACH e-check, right, with the banking information, and we will take that payment from that payment source, and it's on you to pay your credit card bill, right? You are not shouldering the responsibility of non-payment. Leave that to those large financial institutions, right? With the protection of IOLTA and all of those things. So to me, that is a no-brainer improvement, because we see so many small firms getting into basically, the big finance banking business of, let me be the collections agency myself. Thank you very much. That's not your business. All you need to do is to take that payment. Whether or not they're going to pay their credit card bill on time is not your problem, right? This is a bill that they have to pay because they've already received services from you. They've committed to an agreement with you. Whatever the case is, whenever that payment is due, whether it's in contingency practice or not, if you have a consultation, if you have a regular retainer to replenish, et cetera, you should be thinking about taking payments, especially if you have something to replenish. But whether it's one-time bills or recurring, this is something that should be working for you, and do not get into being your own financial institution, right? Leave that to those who are set up to do that. So all of this data in Practice Panther allows you to run some pretty rich reports and some robust reports. I'm really interested in, Dan, hearing about the sort of marketing campaigns, because we talked about how did you hear about us. But can you run us through how this matters also for delivering really good customer service? What could you extract from these reports that feeds back into the business and service delivery?
Yeah, for sure. So reports and tags are super robust. There's a ton of functionality, and it's really limitless whatever you can do with these tags. There's no wrong way to use them. So you can create these custom tags to run reports by practice area, by geographical region, by referral source. Think about it really as a way to run internal analytics so you can track ROI, not only of your marketing campaigns, but of your practice areas, right? So every firm works a little differently and they want to see different things. So we allow them to do that by utilizing this tagging system. So you can slice and dice leads to figure out where they've come from, where are they in the funnel? Are they dropping off at a certain part in your funnel, or are you losing them to a potential competitor? So by looking at, if you see that clients are dropping off after their consultation, what happened during that consultation, or who did they meet with? That is there some sort of trend there that's happening? By using these tags, you really get a bigger picture of what is actually going on at your law firm, right? So One of the other
Can I
ways.
just interject here for a second? Like, I think one of the really interesting things, at least, if you want to, business perspective from like startup company, Smith.ai, we do that. We sort of like, eat, drink, and sleep this ourselves. So if we look at the activities, and the last activity was an inbound communication from the leader client, let's say it's a new potential lead who had a consultation and they're asking, what's the next step here? That would be a sign that you're holding up that process, right? Or if their last activity was you sending over the contract and it's not signed yet, I talk to so many attorneys who say, they'll sign it when they're ready. I'm just giving them some breathing room. Well, it might be on you to actually say, like, a friendly reminder or two, that agreement allows us to get started with the work, and you conveyed that this is something that's really important to you. Is it still important to you? Not can you sign that agreement, but get them to think about the importance of working with you, and you'll get that agreement signed without asking for it. So, who did that activity, whether it was you or it was the potential client, is really important to determine, like, well, what's the next step there? And you can train your team to see the data in that way and to run reports and then to take action on your behalf. Let's send out the reminder. Let's make sure that we share, the calendar, because they actually missed their last meeting and it needs to be rescheduled and no one has done that yet, right? So carry the momentum and take the ownership, because the client expects you to lead this process. They don't expect to lead it themselves.
Right. One last thing, we also had sort of talked about qualifying leads before, right? So if you have leads that are coming from, let's say you have leads that are coming from a certain blog post, or leads that are coming from the same referral over and over again, and that those leads, 9 times out of 10 are gonna, work with you, that's a high bar right there. That you should probably jump on that person so that you can get to work with them right away, because it's probably going to be a pretty easy process for you. So again, these tags and these reports are super functional, and you can really use them whichever way you would like. If you ever have any questions about setting up these reports or any of these tags, you can reach out to your customer service representative, and they'll be able to work with you to figure out, exactly which reports would work best for you.
Awesome. I know we only have a few minutes left, so let's talk about the portal. And this is probably maybe the number 1 or 2 thing for the client experience, is putting more tools at their fingertips.
Right. Yeah, I know we're running up on time here, so I'll try and do this quickly. So yeah, the client portal within Practice Panther is the main place that you'll be interacting with your client, right? So the great thing about Practice Panther is it's all white labeled, so you can add your custom logo, you can add your branding to really make it feel like it is your firm's portal, right? You will be giving your clients their own custom login and password, so they'll feel safe and secure using your system. And really, when you think about onboarding a new client and engaging with someone, what they're going to remember is their first few interactions with you. So when they log into a system that is clean and professional and branded, that's going to stick with them. So in essence, this client portal is a one-stop shop for all things related to your case. They'll have all access to all of their invoices, all of their meeting information, access to documents, and all of their messages. So if there's ever any question on there, and they have one source of truth to go to figure out what's going on with their case. It helps you to avoid miscommunication. You have a paper log of everything that's going on, and it just provides one cohesive experience and really it proves your value.
Awesome. So I will also share that Smith.ai has a dashboard for our clients. Obviously, people who call you don't need their own Smith.ai dashboard. But the richness of data here, I think, just emphasizing on both ends, whether you're using Practice Panther and Smith.ai as a law firm, as a client of our 2 businesses, and you have that rich data to use to your benefit. The experience, whether you're speaking to a person immediately, whether you're, writing, opening up your dashboard and seeing what's going on with your case, that access without the interruption of the firm. Like if we think about this portal, what does it also do for the firm? It means you don't get inundated with questions. Just go on the portal. And that's part of the onboarding process. It's part of the agreement actually that your clients might sign. You agree that we can set up a portal for you and that you will, for messages, and we will send you urgent messages. You also might allow us to text you so that we can get in touch with you, in other urgent ways. You allow us to call you, same thing. This also clears out your email inbox. It reduces the number of calls that are running through your phone system, your receptionist service, et cetera, that would cost you money. So everything sort of consolidates and streamlines when you have a portal like this. And then you can look in your own portal and see, what is the activity that's running through my firm. Same thing with the Smith.ai portal. You can see the number of calls that are coming through that are relevant, that are new leads versus existing clients. And that allows you to act on these insights and run a better firm. So connecting these two systems is super easy. All you have to do is email support@Smith.ai to get your integration link. You'll click on it, you'll click grant access, and then in your dashboard, you can also enable chat so that you see the chat transcripts. And it's really as simple as just sending us an email and we'll enable that for you. So again, support@Smith.ai, you'll authorize that for the phone, and then you can actually authorize it DIY yourself. If you log into your Smith.ai chat dashboard, you'll see under integrations, Practice Panther, and you can authorize it right there. So I will stop sharing the screen right now for just a moment because we do have a poll and we have 4 minutes left. So if you would like a demo, you can visit either practicepanther.com/demo or Smith.ai. But we're also interested to know if you would like to learn more about Practice Panther and Smith.ai, please answer in the poll and we will reach out to you. So it's not something you have to remember yourself. We know that it's really important to be able to just have peace of mind, go off into your day and know that you'll hear from the company that you're interested in learning more about. So I will leave that open for another few seconds. And if you'd like to reply, please go ahead. Obviously, you can always reach out to us at hello@Smith.ai to learn more. If you send it to support, we will get it to the right people too. So no worries there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end that poll. Dan, is there anything else that you would like to share today?
I just wanted to say thank you everyone for joining our webinar this afternoon. We know it's a busy time of year, and so we really appreciate you taking this hour to learn a little bit more from us.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And I hope that you learned something today and you go ahead and put this in practice in your firms. If we can do anything more to support your law firm, please do get in touch with us. Again, you can visit Practice Panther at PracticePanther.com, and you can learn more about Smith.ai at Smith.ai. All right. Thank you so much, Dan. Great chatting with you. Take care, everyone.